Hey guys, it's Mark here from ETF Tracker, and the reason why I've got this video here is because there's been a lot of news around Bitcoin, blockchain, and crypto type ETFs, not just from overseas, not just from local, it's been both. And so it's been a bumper week, and we just see that this is the start of what could be very well the floodgates opening for more institutional and regulated kind of trading when it comes to the crypto type assets. So this is very interesting. You can easily trade crypto if you're a retail trader, but having it open to more regulated entities, so whether that's hedge funds or superannuation funds and places where there's just a lot more money. The Australian superannuation industry is $3.1 trillion, but hasn't been able to touch anything to do with blockchain or crypto until two new ETFs came out or one's come out and is trading on Chi-X, and then the other one isn't out yet, but there's registrations of interest. So that's quite good because it's blockchain related. And then the US on Friday, we got some really big news about the SEC kind of granting approval, but basically it's approval if they're not denying that it's an ETF that can't go ahead. So we're going to share our screen now and just take you through what is going on. So at Exchange Traded Fridays here, this is the blog. We've got all the previous back copies going all the way back to the 23rd of July when we started doing this. It was going out via emails first, and now we've actually got it going out on the blog. People still get emails, but it's just easy to have it as a blog because then you can go to the back copies rather than having to look through your emails. So what we've got here is whenever I go to say the global articles, inevitably there was going to be something on blockchain type ETF. So here's this one here, SEC Chair hints at Bitcoin ETF possibility. And that was back on the 13th of August. And then eventually, as we look through the previous kind of copies, what we were seeing was that as we go through week to week to week, the approval was more towards Bitcoin futures. And finally, we're seeing Bitcoin futures. So there's this article here from the AFR. So this is the one on what's going on in terms of listing here in Australia. There's another one here on Bitcoin prices going up higher. So we'll go back to this one here. The US news was that basically the SEC is not expected to oppose. So it's like, turning not necessarily a blind eye, because if it really didn't want a Bitcoin futures ETF to trade, and there was more and more talk as we were getting closer to the end of October that this was actually going to happen, and now we can see it here. So ProShares have listed, and you can see it on Bloomberg, and I'll put out a tweet on that from someone else that had a Bloomberg screen. You can see the ProShares Bitcoin ETF. It's a futures ETF, so it tracks the trading of futures contracts. So it's not the spot price of Bitcoin, but both Bitcoin futures just as volatile. But the thing that's interesting about it being an ETF is that it's not just you or I kind of buying it and then hoping that whatever Bitcoin, Ethereum, and main coin, or even alternative coin, we are hoping that it goes up, obviously, rocket to the moon. But these ETFs, they're going to be managed. So that's really interesting. So it comes with all of the kind of the repertoire and the expertise and the professionalism of ETF issuers. So that's really interesting. So this one is over there, overseas. So there's this other article here, the SEC approves Bitcoin futures ETF, opening crypto to a wider investor base. And it's really interesting, right? What I find interesting is that there is an information disparity between what access to information that retail traders have versus institutional traders with their Bloombergs and FactSet and Refinitiv and other kinds of very expensive data terminals. Data is very expensive if you didn't know already. And then the retail trader, on the other hand, that doesn't have that much to them in terms of the type of data that they've got. But, we're trying to make a bit of a change here and help the little guy, not to disparage, but, in terms of size of market, retail traders are the little guy, right? So we've done that with ETF Tracker and trying to make the data more accessible and easy to look at and compare holdings and doing all of that kind of stuff. So yeah, this is really interesting because it's actually the opposite way around when it comes to Bitcoin, that retail traders can actually trade. You don't have compliance, you don't have investment committees, you don't have all of these things that get potentially in the way of trading a certain way. And you don't have mandates. You can chop and change. You could be a 60-40 portfolio type person one day and then YOLO into just a specific kind of thematic the next day. You don't have to answer to those things. But if you're an asset manager, you've got a mandate and you've got to go by that certain mandate. So you have to find a way to kind of trade. And it's like analysts as well. So when I used to work in equity research, some analysts, you would specifically cover tech. And so what do you see when it comes up with analyst ratings? If tech's doing really well, well, it's the tech analysts at the top there. So, there's different kind of mandates and you've got to you've got to take a step back and understand why things aren't traded the way that they are or performance is the way that it is. So this is interesting because now with these floodgates open, what it means is that Bitcoin can potentially be traded via an ETF asset by institutions. And here in Australia, we don't have what the US SEC has just approved. ASIC is going through its basically approval process. So it's got a consultation paper out. And if you're following, for example, the interviews that we've had, you'll know that our previous guest last week had a response to that. So that's Monochrome Asset Management. The CEO there has a bit of a pedigree when it comes to Bitcoin because Jeff Yu over at Monochrome, who founded that, he was also the CEO of Binance Australia, so he knows his stuff. So definitely listen to that interview. If you're looking for more of what's going on in terms of like trying to understand all of this, Monochrome have this great that I'm looking at here. This is a great resource for learning more about Bitcoin. So whether you're an advisor or even if you're just a retail trader, you want to look at this kind of stuff. There's some good background here. So they've got these PDFs, Origin and Evolution of Bitcoin. You can get CPD points for this. Or if you're interested in just learning, then definitely have a look at what they've got here. And there's plenty of information online, but this is a nice one because, like, for example, this one's 8 pages. You can just get a good kind of view and picture of that if you just wanted a primer, just an initial kind of view. And then what I mentioned before was that there was some articles about the BetaShares Crypt ETF that was announced earlier last week, and we put that in the newsletter. So this one is not trading yet, but it will. So you can put your interest in towards that one. So if you want to follow that one, then definitely do that. We've seen a lot of news articles talking about that. It was on AusBiz, it's in news, and people are talking about it on social media. So check that one out. And the other interesting one that topped it off for the week was that we've got FTech from ETF Securities, and this is listed on Chi-X. I don't actually think they've got any other ones listed on Chi-X. So this is actually their first. So it's a first for Chi-X in terms of passive. Chi-X has been known for active ETFs, and on the ASX, which is much bigger, like 226 ETFs or so, there maybe it's 228. I don't know. The numbers keep moving there, but 226, 228 active and passive on Chi-X. It's all active until now. So this is their first passive ETF. I don't know how it's trading. So to find out more information, just as much as me, but you can see here more details on the product flyer, the PDS. You can see details about the holdings. So I've scraped the holdings. I had a question from someone looking at some of these new ETF securities ETFs, and we looked at HGen. So the holdings are there for FTech as well. So we could take a look at that. And yeah, you can see more information here about the fund that has started trading. So yeah, that's it. If you're interested in all the things that are going on in terms of the world of blockchain and ETFs and crypto and Bitcoin and all that kind of stuff, you should definitely check out what's going on in the news. We are trying to track it here with ETF Tracker. There's a lot of news, and I'm sure even now that I'm recording it, this is Monday the 18th and it's the evening, it's just after 6. There's probably going to be more throughout the week. So we're preparing like the ETF Tracker newsletter, the Exchange Traded Fridays, newsletter. And that's going to be accessible via the blog. So make sure you subscribe, hit like, share, and subscribe on our YouTube page, or follow us on Instagram, Twitter, other socials that are out there as well. And yeah, hopefully this has been useful for you. But this has been a bit of a flood of information. I know, like drinking from a fire hose. It's a lot, but expect more. So I'm Mark. I'm just hoping to give you the most up-to-date kind of news as it's kind of happening. This one could not wait until the end of the week. Okay, so that's why it's coming out on Monday. So I don't know, maybe I will get into doing something a bit more on the daily, but it's a little bit hard just given other projects that I'm working on. But yeah, hopefully this helps. If you want more like this, let me know. I will talk to you later. Bye.